Hello, lords and ladies of the realm. It is I, Emily Sophia, here to break down the penultimate episode of Season 5 of Game of Thrones. My, has the time flown by. And spoiler alert, before we dive into the mad thick of the Dance of Dragons. So, oh man, I'm a little bit emotional right now. I actually, I cried a lot during this episode, and I think it's really the only point perhaps the only point in the season that I have actually, broken down over something. And if I have to try to pinpoint exactly what tipped me off, I think it was the overarching theme of sacrifice that we kind of get in this episode. And of course, here the spoilers officially begin. We are diving into the mad thick of things. What with the sacrifice of Princess Shireen to the Lord of the Light, and then ultimately the rescue of Daenerys at the Great Pit fight event, whatever you call it, with Drogon swooping in to the rescue. And I mean, every single time there is any kind of semblance of an intimate moment with dragons, my heart just Niagara Falls plus a volcano. So it's like an upside down Niagara Falls of the, there's no way, I don't know how to explain it, but basically I am erupting on the inside in a huge way. And so I am just, the last 10 minutes of the episode, I am sitting here blubbering. It's disgusting and sad. But, I mean, I go from the sad feels at the beginning of the episode to the sad, happy feels, because of course we don't know what exactly is going to transpire with now who was standing after that the massacre. It was Daario, Missandei, Tyrion, and Jorah. So they're all left in the wake of their queen, who has just departed with one of her children. And I mean, the dynamic between the Queen of Dragons and the dragons themselves has been quite strained since she has taken control of Meereen. And now that she sees just how dire the situation is in this city in which she has attempted to establish herself, and now her semblance of the political liaison that she had before is gone, and pretty much everything has been completely undermined and overthrown. Now she kind of gets to return to this place of nearness with her child, who hears of the chaos below and comes to the rescue in a big and fiery and dragony way. And that just was such a powerful moment for me that I am going to be clinging to long after the season has passed. So I apologize that I sound like a man at the moment, as the remnants of the tears are still within me, and I'm trying to deal with myself. But yeah, I don't know about you guys, but that one got the waterworks going for me. And I think too, the combination of losing Shireen in this incredibly tragic way, and then that kind of contrasted with the rescue of Dany, and just the children who are ultimately put in harm's way for their parental units in their positions of power. This episode certainly does not shed any kind of positive light on the person of Stannis Baratheon. I very much anticipated this coming. I knew that all of the scenes that he has had one-on-one, and even with Sir Davos, with Shireen, all of that was leading up to her exiting in some kind of tragic fashion, which is precisely what we got in this episode. And it wrecked me inevitably, but I was completely blubbering by by the time that Danny's dragon showed up, I was gone. But yeah, I knew that it was coming because as Stannis said to Sir Davos, there is no chance of him relenting, not in the slightest. He is going to get all of the cannon fodder that he can. He is going to press ever forward. And being that he is receiving his leading counsel from the Red Priestess, Lady Melisandre, he knows the blood that she desires on the behalf of the Lord of the Light. And so ultimately he decides that the only way that they can move forward is by giving this god what he wants. And it is the blood of a king. And he is, in fact, a king. And this was such a difficult episode, especially in terms of what we had to witness in Braavos as Arya is continuing in her faceless assassin training and has to encounter the horrors in this brothel where soldiers come and can take these children, essentially, and their needs are met and fed in these places, and she has to delve into the belly of the beast in order to further her training. And so having to witness this innocence torn is so incredibly painful, and it is something that I will always and forever feel when it comes to the show. You know, whatever kind of atrocity is thrown my way, that stuff is always going to break me into pieces, and that is kind of sort of how I feel. But yeah, so this episode was very much a slow burn kind of an episode. What with, at the beginning, so we see that Ramsay's assault on Stannis' camp was very much successful, as he had said in the previous episode. All he needed was 20 good men to cause a bit of a stir at the camp, and we see that many men were killed in this firefight that ensued. And Stannis, he sees just how dire the situation is, but in the process of sending Sir Davos back to Castle Black in order to recruit men for his cause, he has the opportunity to secure the safety of his family by sending them back with Sir Davos. But we know exactly what he has resigned himself to and the fate that he has chosen. And he knows that if he is in fact the one predestined for the Iron Throne, that there is nothing that can get between him and that end goal, even if it means sacrificing his beloved daughter. And it feels all the more awful because it almost seems as if he has been grooming his daughter for this express purpose, at least ever since he began his connection with the Red Priestess and the Lord of the Light. And so she becomes, his beloved daughter becomes part of the cannon fodder that he is throwing into this war machine. And we see that this is no easy decision for him by any means, but it is only Shireen's mother who bursts through the crowd and rushes to the front lines to see her daughter burn alive, and who in that moment is devastated. We don't see that to be the case with Stannis, because I think he has been working out whatever he is feeling inside, has been building up to this point. And this is the culmination of the next step to his ascension, and it freaking sucks because, not only is Shireen an innocent child, but she's kind of an awesome little woman. She taught Sir Davos how to read and reads herself. And I think too the story of the Dance of Dragons that she is reading kind of ties into the way that her fate plays out. And little does she know, as she is devouring this literature, exactly what is going to devour her. But essentially she is absorbed into her father's cause, is what we see. And I was not expecting another reinsurgence, but I don't know what this show is doing to me right now, but there are things occurring inside of me, and yeah, I'm sorry about that. So things were surprisingly anticlimactic, in contrast at over in Dorne, where Doran pardons once again Lady Ellaria. I don't know if she's technically a lady, but we see that ultimately the arrangement that is made as Doran seeks to continue the alliance between the Lannisters and his clan. What is going to go down is that Myrcella and Prince Trystane, I believe is the name, are going to accompany Jaime to return to King's Landing. And in light of the fact that Oberyn had originally been appointed to the small council, Trystane is going to take his place. Now, little do they know that there is a huge power vacuum that they are going to be cruising right on into as they return to King's Landing. The only thing that they know is that King Tommen is still in his place. They don't know what has become of Marjorie and Cersei, and what Cersei has already done to the small council, having sent everyone away, dispersed everyone for whom she had the slightest bit of disdain. So, while things seem relatively and surprisingly peaceful in this arrangement that's made in Dorne, well, they're gonna come back to a whole barrel full of monkeys over in King's Landing, you know, being that some of the most important and prominent people in King's Landing are either not there or down in the dungeons. So, you know, we'll see what's happening at the ground level when Jaime makes landfall once again. But yeah, so Ellaria is very much disappointed by the turn of events, as are the Sand Snakes. Bronn is ultimately released, according to the will of Trystane, who would simply have him receive a hearty smack to the face and be on his merry way. So yeah, that was it. Again, a very surprisingly peaceful turn of events. And I know that some people have expressed disappointment about the way that things went down with the portrayal of the Sand Snakes this season. And I feel like they were really built up kind of in the promotional material, and from what I had heard from other people, you know, like the vengeful daughters of Oberyn Martell. Hello! I was expecting a whole new kind of storm coming, you know? But that's not to say that they're not interesting characters in their own way. It's just that I had kind of expected to see more of them, and yeah, that kind of fell a little bit flat, I do suppose. But there are other kinds of craziness afoot, so I really shouldn't be complaining about something that didn't actually go to hell. So that's kind of the, you know, the two sides of the coin. That is my reaction to what's been going on in Dorne. But also, we get an interesting conversation after Ellaria is pardoned once again by Doran. She comes in and visits Jaime and touches on a very sensitive subject for him regarding his affections for the sister unit. So it's an sort of almost a civil discussion in a way, as she's sort of striking an accord with him, trying to show him the error of the ways of the world around him, the world of King's Landing. And I think she's trying to subvert the system that Doran is kind of upholding by keeping these alliances going and by bestowing mercy and all of these things that she never stood for, especially in light of the death of Oberyn. But she kind of realizes, like, you know, we have it pretty good in Dorne here, and discussing how the institutions of love are constantly changing and fluctuating, and how perhaps a century ago the thing between Cersei and Jaime might not have been seen as such an atrocity in the social sphere. So that was kind of an interesting discussion, and poking fun at Jaime's 7-year-old handwriting too. Yeah, again, that front is kind of, I'm waiting for the next big bang at King's Landing, and it's crazy to think that we only have a single episode left in which to begin the trials that are on their way. So that's an exciting turn of events, but man, I am still just so wrapped up in the events at Meereen, and there we have multiple layers to the narrative there, of course. So we have Jorah, who is quite literally, with flesh and blood, fighting for the heart of his beloved queen, and doing a damn good job of it too. So he is working his way around the pits, stabbing and taking guys out left and right. While, of course, prior to this, Dany continues to be completely and utterly uncomfortable with everything that is transpiring and despises the fact that she has to maintain these systems in the city just to keep her power. And for all that she has done, it continues to be before her very eyes undone and wrenched away from her. And she has a very tense discussion with Hizdahr about just the city itself and how she foresees its demise at her own hands if possible. This is the guy whom she married strategically, politically, to maintain her power, and she's kind of like, yeah, I'm seeing a wee bit beyond things here. And then just fun verbal jousting with Tyrion in the mix as well, and Daario tries to put his 2 cents in with the first fight between the larger man and the smaller, nimbler man, saying that he, in fact, was the smaller guy, and he's all like flipping around with his blades and just so in the face of this guy who, you know, love triangle, a very interesting place to be trying to work out those issues, but it happens. And then what do you know, the small guy dies anyway, and Daario's kind of like, if you could have gotten his foot up there, it would have been in his mouth. Hizdahr was pretty damn pleased with himself. But so as they're discussing, you know, what is the necessariness of atrocity in blazing the trail to what you would have, you know, as Dany is seeking to establish her world order, you know, is what is going on before her necessary. And what's crazy is that she, in essence, you know, she has the power to stop what is going on before her, especially when Jorah arrives, but even then, she is all the more eager to clap and begin the shenanigans seeing him there, because she distinctly, on purpose, sent him out of the city to be away from her, because this was the best form of justice that she could devise, and especially with the Council of Tyrion. And so having him back into the fray, it's almost that kind of situation of like, why won't you just die? Or at least, why won't you just die to me? Why won't you disappear? And he just can't do that. I mean, I have to say, props to Jorah for being able to have like such an intense laser focus on Dany while whipping all these guys around on the dance floor. The death floor, shall we say. Just all those shots were making me so nervous. And then, of course, the part where he stabs that one guy through on his giant spear, and he's getting up. And so I am screaming because, well, we saw the battle between the snake and the mountain. You know, I'm doing the math at 1,000,000 miles an hour in my head as this guy is starting to slowly stand up, and Jorah is just staring straight at Dany. We think that he's having this moment, when in fact he actually spots the harpy that is coming up behind her, grabs out the spear, and just flings it. And so the party begins. And just, man, oh man, I had like, at this point, my hands are like, I'm tearing my cheeks off, just trying to cope with everything that's transpiring. All of a sudden, the harpies are everywhere, and now I am confused as to why they are still going at it. because at this point she is technically married to Hisdar, who has, I mean, there's a lot that's kind of, as far as like the political stuff in Meereen that's sort of glossed over in the season, kind of out of necessity because we're just dealing with so many different characters and stuff that's going on. But I'm trying to figure out why exactly they launched another full-scale assault of this caliber. I mean, because you think that, yes, for the common people, maybe opening the fighting pits is a good idea, but of course she still hasn't reinstated slavery. So I suppose that's still kind of the lingering issue at hand, is she's appeased the majority of the common people, but the former masters and their affiliates are still not having it. So I guess that, you know, it makes sense. In the moment, it just feels like a clusterfuck of no thank you, but it makes sense at least. And man, I mean, just so many close calls for Dany. I mean, she wasn't very well flanked as opposed to previous times, like when she let's see, she offed that one guy earlier on in the season, the one who killed the guy who was supposed to go to trial, and like she was surrounded. So I was having some major heart palpitations just looking at all the spaces around her. And so she and Missandei lock, you know, they're holding hands together, lady power to the end. Tyrion's taking guys out. Finally, at long last, she takes Jorah's hand and lets him protect her. And just, like, so she's got her posse. But the posse is definitely overshadowed by the shadow of a certain dragon that is her little baby. And for all the times that we fear that in a fit of passion, Drogon might take her out and, you know, overtly the land, but he always comes right back to Mama. And it just, man, oh man, I will never, like, if ever I needed to instantaneously cry for whatever reason, I need only just pull up like that 5 seconds of Dany reaching out to Drogon, and he's like, hey, yo, mama, I got you. And that's all I need. That is all I need. Chemical reactions in my brain. Release the Kraken. I'm dead. But, and then of course, the glorious moment where she gets on the back of her little baby. She is pulling spears out. She's like, come on, let's get out of this joint. And they go. So that is that. Of course, we have quite a few major characters that have been left in the midst of the ring, but, I mean, was the dragon's arrival enough to dissuade / take enough of them out? I don't really know. He was definitely having a heyday. But, woof. I knew that the episode's title was The Dance of Dragons. So I knew that some dragons were gonna dance. But at the same time, I did not anticipate the heart avalanche that I'm currently experiencing. So, if there's any major thing that I missed in this review, please bring it up down below. I'd be more than happy to have this review expanded upon by all of you guys. That's the way that we do it. So let me know what you thought about this episode, and if you are as emotionally compromised as I am, because I will. Here, I'm gonna hug you right now. There you go. I hope you enjoyed that. So, yeah, I feel so much better. But, yeah, if I'm not mistaken, last episode next week? Yeah, I think so. So, be sticking around for my review. It's gonna be a real party, ladies and gents. So, thank you again, as always. It has been such a pleasure. I'll be back by this Thursday with my Hannibal review. And as always, well, I'll be back before you know it.